What's up, everybody? How many of you have been to a conference or been online and heard somebody tell a story that it just inspired the crap out of you? And then you thought to yourself, I wish I had a story like that. I wish I had something that could inspire people, motivate people, bring them together. My name is Matt with Elevating Yourself, and I am a sucker for stories. And I have been that person who has thought to themselves, you know what? I wish I had a story. I wish I had the story that I could just tell and it would just go crazy. I'm sure you have thought that way too. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Come here, come here. You do. We all do. We all have a story to tell. And the problem sometimes is that it just takes us finding the right instance and how to frame that story to make it impactful. And we all can work on it. In today's video, we're going to be talking about stories, and more specifically, your story, and how you can build it, how you can frame it, and what you can do to make sure that it has the most impact out there. So why does your story matter? Look, you've got a story to tell, regardless of what you think. You have learned from the experiences of your life. Sometimes you've had big experiences and sometimes you've had small experiences. You just have to find the right situations that are going on currently, either same or similar, that you can draw into. There are so many times that we just undervalue our own stories because they don't have this grand impact. And that's the thing, is that you may not feel that it had a grand impact, but in other people's lives, that impact is actually big. Don't just think about what the outcome was. It wasn't like, you rubbed up a lottery ticket and it was $1 million and it changed your life. Yeah, great story. But there are small things in your life that other people don't have from an experience standpoint that they can learn from. You just have to find the situations that are out there that you can share along the way. And the great thing about stories is that it allows us to process and give meaning to our own lives. It can allow us to visualize ourselves and put ourselves in those exact situations to understand what we would do if those circumstances were put in front of us. I mean, look at Casey Neistat. He was somebody that decided just to pick up a camera and start recording himself around New York City, doing just odds and ends things. But it ended up inspiring millions of people around him, and he became a global influence just because from the stories that he was telling. And some of them weren't big stories. One of them was him fixing an iPod, but people tuned in because they wanted to understand his situation. And that's the thing, is that you don't have to have this tremendous outcome right away. Those outcomes might come down the road, but just share the things that are going on in your life so that you can draw people in. And stories can really shape your identity. Stories are a fantastic way to reflect on past experiences, but you have to make sure that you're owning your own narrative. Don't let other people define it for you. I used to be a really numbers-driven person. I loved Excel. I loved getting in there and just doing all sorts of different things. Numbers is where I thought it was at. And when I got into leadership, I just assumed numbers was the thing that you focused in on. And there were a lot of people that I was around that thought that same way. One of my very first managers that worked with me, he was so successful and he never talked about numbers. I mean, never. He only focused on the people. And he really taught me some strong values when looking in that. He talked to me about why it was so important to just think about the people and the actions that they were doing, because the numbers themselves are a result of actions that have already taken place. And so focusing on the number is like focusing on the things after the fact. Don't do that, he said. He said, make sure that you're talking about what things you can do next time so that you can get a different result. And it really rang true to me. It allowed me to think of things a little bit differently. And from that moment on, I rarely look at numbers. Now, I look at numbers for a lot of different things, but the numbers aren't the thing that I want to make changes on. I want people to be better. I want people to see the successes in their own actions. And by doing so, you will see those numbers can change. Break through barriers and build connections a lot easier. In many instances, it fosters empathy and understanding. I mean, think about a new relationship. When you're meeting somebody for the first time, you are looking for commonalities. And a lot of times those commonalities come from the stories that we tell each other. But that's the thing, is that it doesn't always have to be brought on by a certain situation. It can be completely random at times. You just have to think about what stories that you want to talk about and listen to. And from those stories, you build stronger bonds. You bring people in. And it reminds me of one of the people that I've worked with. He really appreciated my leadership. He appreciated my approach to how I built teams and dealt with people and worked with people and talked with people. And he became somebody that was very interested in leadership and eventually became a very strong leader. And when I got promoted, he also got promoted, and he worked through his own leadership and eventually started to work with me even more closely. And it was awesome to see his leadership thrive based off of not only the experiences he learned from me, but his own experiences. He was building himself into a much better leader, not because of me necessarily, but because of the things that he took from our own experiences. And he's somebody that I've worked with now for over 12 years. I left that company. He actually came with me to work at the company that I currently am at. And it's an awesome relationship to have. We still meet on a weekly basis to talk about all sorts of different things. We share our own stories during this time because we want to be able to learn from each other. And that's the great thing, is that the experiences that he has had now, I've definitely been able to learn from, and I appreciate his friendship and his leadership. Finally, stories can show us how we've shared struggles and victories together. Social media is a great but dangerous place to share stories. It's really interesting though, because there are some times that you might receive some backlash for a story that you've told, because I don't know what it is. People tend to look at a story that may be similar to theirs, that you maybe have experienced something different, and they backlash at it because you didn't have the same experiences. And so they want to tell you that you were wrong, or that you should have done things differently, or whatever the case may be. But that's the thing, is that there are so many different ways that people can get to the same result. And the path that you're on is going to be different than others. And so just think about what it is that you want to share and what the outcome was. And don't think about how it differed from somebody else's path. And also remember that your story can have grand impacts on other people, even though it didn't have a grand impact on you. It's because of those experiences that you had that can inspire others to be better people. I think about support groups all the time, like Alcoholics Anonymous. They share their stories in those meetings because they want people to understand the struggles that they went through. And that's the thing that we have to realize about our stories, is that they don't always have to have a positive impact at the end of it. They could potentially have a negative impact that we learned from and we grew from. And those stories, like they do in the support groups, do just that. People hear the struggles that they went through and what they did to overcome them, because they want people to understand that regardless of how tough situations can be, you yourself can come out the other side a much better person, and not to think about just the negative things that are going on. There are better things that are coming. You just have to push through it. And sometimes those stories are the thing that get us there. Thanks for watching today. Remember, you have a story. All of us have a story. So go out there and tell it, sing it, yell it. Just remember that the past experiences that you have, other people can learn from it. They are going down a same or similar path, and they may need your guidance, your friendship, your experiences in order to get them through the other side. In fact, I want to hear your story. If you have a story that you'd like to tell, reach out to me. I'd love to understand the experiences that you have had that have led to the successes or the failures in your life. Do me a favor though, check out a couple of the other videos that I've got posted. I hope you enjoy them. And remember, elevating yourself to the next level starts with a single story. Tell your story today. We'll see you next time.